next presenter is Geri Johnson. I've got something here to read out. Geri grew up in the cultural melting pot of Hawaii. Her first school years were in a rural area where she quickly learned to assimilate into the group called local, and ever since has found it easy to integrate with various groups and cultures. Besides Hawaii and Phoenix, Geri lived in Saudi Arabia, Singapore, and India. She has traveled extensively, and she has yet to explore South America and New Zealand. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Geri received the Urantia book in 1968. Golly gosh, I was 13 years old in 1968, so there you go. Within the year, she was a dedicated student and joined her first study group in 1970. As a result of the Urantia teachings, Geri learned to look inward to develop, and is still developing, a personal relationship with her thought adjuster and with our divine parents. Knowing that all people are her brothers and sisters has added tremendously to her life. Geri says the Urantia book guided her life's work, parenting skills and friendships. She has 2 sons, 3 grandsons, and 1 great-granddaughter. She is a retired educator and lives on Maui with her loving partner, Rob. So, Geri, are you, hopefully you're with us there, you are? Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Trevor, and greetings to everybody. It's good to see you. I see many faces I recognize. What a wonderful program we just came from. My goodness, from the global, now we're going to go to the personal. So good evening from Hawaii, and good day, morning, or night, wherever you may be. Thank you for joining this session. And if you think you're in the wrong session, the title was altered, but just not on the schedule. Let's see, are we co-sharing? Can I open up the title?
You're good to go.
Okay, thank you. Let me open this up. Can you, I just need a quick check. Can you see the power?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes,
I can't see it, so that's good to know.
It's minimalized. Make it a bit larger for us if you want.
Okay, let's see. How's that? Did that help?
No, you're using a Mac, are you?
Yes. Is that helping?
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, some Mac users come in and help us out here, just to make her
Make it full screen
slide bigger. Yeah, make it full screen for us, I think.
If you go onto the button at the top which says slideshow.
Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, sorry about this. What?
Then go to share screen on the right side. There's that arrow. And that's the first one at the bottom.
Is that better?
Make this size.
Yep.
Okay, we're just going to go on. Sorry.
That's good, Geri.
Okay, thank you. So during this hour, we'll look at one aspect in our mission of bringing God and his eternal love to our brothers and sisters. That is how to engage in a conversation with acquaintances or strangers with the goal of sharing God's love with them. I have only 10 slides, and mostly with quotes. Some of them I will not read aloud. They guide my thinking, and they'll be fit into the discussion, but you'll see where they're coming from. Okay. So for about the next 35 minutes, I'll share with you, and then we'll open up to the discussion. That might not get everyone a time to talk, or so in advance, I apologize. You do have the option of the chat, which I noticed during Pato's session, you guys were using a lot, so great. Let's begin with the
Geri.
Yes.
Geri, I'll just interrupt very briefly. On my screen, I don't know about everyone else, I'm seeing it large, but I'm not catching all the words in your slide. On the left-hand side, some of the letters. That's it. That's
Okay,
that is-
good. Thanks for the feedback.
that is perfect. Okay, continue on.
Okay. Let's begin with a statement about terminology. For this talk, I will refer to mankind as sons of God. This is based on the fact that as mortal children of our Creator parents, we are classified as ascending sons. The daughters of God are known best on Urantia as the angelic order. And I know, but more importantly, they know I'm no angel. Okay, let's take a breath or two. And on the exhale, center yourself with a silent prayer and a greeting to our Father Michael, since we know that when two or more are gathered in his name, he is with us. And we also greet all unseen friends. We gather as a community, united in the knowledge of the fatherhood of God and the resulting fact of our brotherhood. We are united in our belief of the Urantia Book as the fifth epical revelation to this planet and in our sharing of these transcendent teachings. We know in our soul we are piloted by an indwelling fragment of our Father's absolute perfection and unconditional love. The spirit of truth of Christ Michael illuminates truth to our minds. We are ministered to and guided by our Divine Mother, to the adjutant mind spirits, the Holy Spirit, and our own guardian seraphim. Each one of us is unique and in the scheme of eternity, irreplaceable. We are gifted with a unique personality, an array of individual talents and experiences that hone skills. With the gift of free will choice, our willingness, intelligent, and cheerful cooperation brings us ever closer to our divine parents. This is our common ground. Jesus tasked the apostles with living and sharing the gospel. In the restatement of Jesus's life and teachings, we have been given the same mission to live and to share the fact of the Father's abounding love and mercy, coupled with the knowledge that we are all faith sons of this God of love. Whoa. We're just not going to use this right now. And we'll just go on. My family, my friends, we are in a long tale of time, billions of years in the making, and successors of a long line of survivors. We were born for this time. That is a quote, and unfortunately, I don't remember the author's name. The conspiracy of loving forces within and around us and our priceless powers of choice have brought us to this moment. We are connected by our humanness, our spiritual mission, and our divine heritage. From the air we breathe, from the air we breathe to finding our place in the larger cosmic picture, we impact one another and this strife-torn planet. For some months now, and especially the past 5 weeks, as we shelter at home, I have been working daily on 2 projects about Jesus's life and teachings. And for the last 6 months, I have been a participant in the Christ Experiment Evangelist class. Given these current influences on my thinking, and maybe what the Spirit of Truth is highlighting for me, come a few thoughts to share with you. We are told that of all human knowledge, let me say that again, of all human knowledge, that which is of greatest value is to know the religious life of Jesus and how he lived it. The great hope of Urantia is the possibility of a new revelation of Jesus with a new and enlarged presentation of his saving message, which would spiritually unite in loving service and which would unite in loving service the numerous families of his present day professed followers. And what an awakening the world would experience if it could only see Jesus as he really lived on earth and know firsthand his life-giving teachings. These are not wishful words or heartfelt sentiments. This is the answer to many of our problems on Urantia. The revelation of the Father in the life of Jesus was tangible to those who lived with him 2,000 years ago. They saw him, heard him, walked beside him, broke bread together, camped on the ground and slept under the stars, worked the fishing boats, by the way, that he made, witnessed him healing the sick and the lame and comforting the fearful and aggrieved, and daily experienced his consistent love for them and for anyone else he encountered, even those who would hurt him. And still, they had a difficult time comprehending his message of salvation. The fact of the Heavenly Father's love and the truth of his mercy, coupled with the good news that man is a faithful son of the same God of love, was beyond their comprehension. As we know now, 2,000 years ago, God was not widely seen as a father, let alone as a loving one. And to recognize and love everyone as a brother or a sister, to love them as a brother or sister, as Jesus loved them, was not just a new thought, it was radical. No wonder the apostles were often amazed, surprised, stunned, downcast, crushed, speechless at Jesus's proclamations. And yet they rallied because of Jesus's love for them and their love for him. They truly loved and trusted him. Thoughts about God and his love are still hard to comprehend today for too many. There are those who are confused, many who do not believe or even care that they are loved unconditionally by God. Friends tell me that where they live in parts of Europe and Canada, that people simply do not talk about God. They're looked upon with suspicion or as though they're crazy if you mention God. Certainly nobody wants to be preached to, and that may be part of it, but it is also that God is just not in their frame of reference. He has no reality in their life. In other places, many will talk about God if he is the God of their belief system. And there are those who are curious and open to learning. And there are those who have God enshrined in their souls and open to sharing his love. We know it is faith in our Father and the acceptance of his love that will render the transformations of one's beliefs, attitudes, and motivations into new ideas and ideals, insights, and eventually spiritual strivings. And that will change the world. We are called to love as Jesus loved us. We were born for this moment into a world that is full of materialism and greed, and confusion, mismanagement, deception, inequities, fear, rage, war, overpopulation, pollution, and now a pandemic, more fear, widespread illness, widespread unemployment, death, and tremendous grief. And also, where the Most High's rule in the kingdom of men, where our divine parents know us intimately and draw close to us, where the Spirit of truth has been functioning for 2,000 years, where we have the universal arrival of thought adjusters, where our planetary government, somewhat different than the norm, functions valiantly, aided not the least by a corps of midwayers and a host of angels, where we have been given the restatement of the life and teachings of Jesus, where there are untold numbers of mortals who hunger and thirst for this living truth. Yes, we were born for this time. How fortunate and blessed we are. Many of us already serve in multitudinous ways. Organizations, spontaneous groups, and individuals are engaged in numerous projects for living and promoting truth, beauty, and goodness. We just heard about quite a few of them a few minutes ago. The Urantia book is available in English and 23 other languages, and more translations are in process. There are numerous secondary works, including the beautifully told and illustrated Jesus the Untold Story. But there are lots of books, videos, movies, music, maps, charts, websites, blogs, Facebook pages, and online groups. There are spiritual and contemplative practices, conferences, retreats, small gatherings, and study groups, schools for deepening one's knowledge and learning how to teach are operating and others are developing. And then there's the work people do in their own communities. So much is happening. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get this PowerPoint up again. Let's share the screen, see if we can open this. Because there is a quote, I would. And we missed that page earlier, but we will. Okay.
Hey, Jerry, when you go to share screen, you might try in the lower right, lower left, there are two boxes. One is enable computer sound, the other is enable computer to blow up to the full text size. You might try checking that second box and see if you get better results.
Okay, well, can you see this now, Marvin? Or is it too small?
Actually, I don't see anything. Just
You
to
don't
see the,
see-
just see people's portraits. There we go. Yeah,
Ah.
much better.
Okay, there we go. Okay. Acutely aware that Jesus needs us to be those mortals who effectively reveal the master to all men, I reflect on how I may bring Jesus's love and teachings to others more effectively every day and at every opportunity. This being aside from any other endeavors in which I may be engaged. Okay, I just hit the wrong button and we drove it away. Okay, we're back. The Urantia book provides considerable ideas and inspiration. 3 principles that stand out to me are, okay, I'm sorry, I am having a hard time finding this. There we go. Okay. So 3 principles that stand out for me are that the Spirit never drives, only leads. The domination of the Spirit is never tainted with coercion nor compromised by compulsion. Jesus never attacked the errors or flaws in another's teachings. Instead, he selected the truth in what they taught and then proceeded to embellish and illuminate this truth in their minds. Jesus was free, was careful, never to overteach the apostles or disciples, not wanting to cause confusion with concepts that were beyond their comprehension. So take a moment and think about how you would summarize these principles for you. How might you employ these attitudes, or how do you employ these attitudes in your sharing? Does another principle stand out more for you and guide you? Don't overthink it, just let it float to the top of your head. What comes up first for you? For myself, I can use these principles by being respectful of each person, not letting my joy or zeal be too forceful, and certainly by releasing any sense of spiritual pride. I can highlight and expand upon the truth they mentioned, as that is what has relevance to them in this moment. And I will take care to teach just enough for the point to be heard, not to confuse. We never know how the thought adjuster or the spirit of truth might one day bring a thought back to their mind. Jesus's extensive yet replicable teachings, methods were noted throughout his whole life. During Jesus's personal ministry, we have read that he drew near large numbers of people. As a rule, to those he taught the most, he said the least. He was equally adept in teaching by either asking or answering questions. He used questions to engage people, to draw them out, and to expand their thinking. So again, here's a question for you. How would you incorporate these ideas into your actions with colleagues or associates or strangers? What's the takeaway for you right now? Yeah, Marvin.
For me, my starting point, just looking at how Jesus proceeded, is to be massively curious about the person in front of me.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to go wrong with that, I found.
Pretty hard to go wrong with that. Yeah.
Yeah, to really, have a huge question mark and say, what is going on inside that human being? What have their lives been like? And really take a lot of time getting to know them. And I think people blossom when you pay that kind of attention to them.
I do too.
And
Yeah.
it makes a tremendous impact. So I think just starting there with a massive curiosity and a loving curiosity for who this person is and asking the questions to find out.
Okay. Good. Thank you. I think for me, my takeaways are to continue to create or find opportunities to be near people now that I'm retired. To recognize when it's time to listen and when it's time to talk, or maybe just when it's time to love. And then to ask the right questions. Prior to, and hopefully post coronavirus, being around people usually depends on the variables of our life and lifestyles. Our family, neighbors, work, church, school or community, clubs, cultural events, fitness and sports, hobbies, travel, service ventures, spiritual and meditative communities, online hangouts. Now that I'm retired, I have to work harder at this than when I was an educator in a school community. Already a big community there. Today, centering prayer, service ventures, and every store, Starbucks, or airport line I stand in is an opportunity to draw nearer to my fellow brothers and sisters. The longer the line is my new motto. The longer the line, the better is my new motto. So my ministry isn't online, but rather in line. During these days of social distancing, we find ourselves maybe more on the phone, on the internet, using Zoom, maybe even writing notes again and letters. I'm sure many of us have written to friends who are experiencing the loss of a beloved. Opportunities abound, sometimes where or when we least expect. Okay, a quick review. We have discussed our common beliefs, our mission, some teaching attitudes to ponder. And now we're going to enter into how to engage someone that you don't know well, or even at all. Talking about how to begin and develop a conversation about God may be intuitive and very familiar ground for many of you. I love what Marvin just added about having massive curiosity about someone. For others, it might not be so familiar. So please excuse me if I am now stating the obvious to you. As you engage someone, quickly assess the environment as well as the person. Is this a place or a time conducive to a heartfelt talk, or simply an inspirational thought? Is it planting the seed time? Or is this someone you might see regularly, like at work or on the way to work, and you can take more time in developing a relationship? Does the person appear receptive? Do you need to honor their desire to be quiet or alone, or test the waters, maybe with a smile? If you get a response to a friendly overture, or they initiate a comment, listen carefully. What have they just said that you can add to or ask a reasonable question to keep the interaction going? Is there something about them that lends itself to a question or a comment? Security lines in the airport are easy. So, where are you headed today? In the checkout line at the grocery store, when we were not standing 6 feet apart, I would observe what was in their basket. If I saw a lot of flour, I might say something in a friendly manner like, "Oh, are you doing a lot of baking too? What are you making?" As another example, not long ago, I commented on an environmental message on a t-shirt someone was wearing. It was not hard to go from one world talking about one family. And as this person was receptive, we then were able to talk about children being the children of one God. Staying ministry ready is to reply to comments and to take every opportunity to take the conversation to the next level of truth, beauty, and goodness. The goal is sharing some aspect of the truth of God's love, but you need to start somewhere, and often that begins with something you have in common. Sometimes you just share friendliness and kindness. Earlier, I referred to the fact that we will engage with people who might not have an interest in spiritual topics, or meet those with varied levels of spiritual interest. I'm going to need help again. The Christ Experiment materials discuss the brotherhood of man as consisting of spirit sons, Urantia sons, faith sons, believing sons, and non-believing sons. For our purposes today, we will discuss the latter three. Faith sons already know the joys of the Father's love, our relationship of brotherhood, and the assurance of eternal survival. We can always inspire each other onward to becoming Urantia sons. What was it Jesus said about engaging with others such that they will receive the highest possible good as a result of the believer's contact with them? What might we say or do or add to the life of a believing son so he or she might become a faith son? Or for that matter, for a non-believing son to become a believer in God? How can we breathe meaning into the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man in their life? Questions, we're told. Jesus was equally adept at teaching by asking or answering questions. questions that do not proselytize or threaten a person's belief or sense of their self. Sometimes that's the same thing, is one way for the mind to accept new ideas. We are talking about those questions that whet the appetite, open the mind, and especially stimulate curiosity. While it can be helpful to have generic questions ready in your spiritual conversation toolbox, all interactions are conditioned by spontaneity, the trust you establish in a conversation, and the topic you're already discussing. Establishing, ooh, I need to have a quick drink of water. Establishing trust is seeing God in our brother or sister, attentive listening to them, understanding their needs, and respecting their perspective. Some questions are framed to just get to know each other. Others may focus the conversation and hopefully stimulate new thoughts. Here are a few questions to think about. Many of you know Tom Choquette, and therefore you're going to know where I'm going with this topic. He likes to ask strangers, could you help me? I'm doing a survey. Would you tell me what is your greatest need? Tom will inevitably say they get to talking about needing and giving love. And with Tom, it's then a quick jump from love to God. Okay, we're gonna go and put another slide.
Click here,
I want to,
push it up.
it's not going up. Sorry.
Did you click it? Okay. Let's see if it'll go up with a slide.
It's not advancing. Oh, this worked perfectly this afternoon. I played with it twice. Okay, the other way. Okay,
It's the first one, right?
yeah, keep going. We're going to get up to the questions. We want to go the other way. I'm sorry. Thanks for your patience.
That's okay, Jerry.
Thanks, Trevor.
Happens to me all the time.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
Can't do it above
It's
that.
not going above this. Okay, for some reason it is frozen. Okay. Ah, here we go. Ah,
Can you see? Is it-
persistence. Okay.
You might have to select the.
Don Clement, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. Don Clementine with Christ Experiments shared these questions with our class. To a believing son, he would say, as a son of God, what do you expect will happen to you after you die? Why do you think God wants us to live on after death? To a non-believing son, if there really is life after death, would you want it? Imagine you are the designer of the life after death. What would you like it to be? Here's some other questions. Some are mine and some I have adopted. If you could give one value to your child, what would it be? Which value in life has guided you the most? You seem like a happy and positive person. Have you always been this way? Or did you have a unique experience? Was there an event in your life that brought you to who you are today? What is your faith background? Can you share how that works for you? Where does love come from? What does someone need or need to feel to show mercy? For someone who's lost a family member, You might say, where do you think your loved one is now? Have you ever thought of what they might be learning or doing? What do you do to get closer to God? What does the gospel mean to you? How does it work in your life? And here is the direct method. Where are you at in your spiritual life? Thank you, Susan Cook, for that question. This is just a flavor of the variety of questions and perhaps stimulated some ideas for you, or just showed different ways to go. Your own questions in the moment with your conversational partner will always be the best questions. So let's reflect for a moment. Do you have any favorite questions in your repertoire that you ask when beginning a conversation with someone new? You can share this with the group if you like by putting it in the chat. Hopefully at the end, we'll come back to this question and you'll have a time to share your questions or your ideas on this. So, we have been called to the mission of bringing God and his eternal love to our brothers and sisters. We are called to love Jesus as he loves us. To know the religious life of Jesus and how he lived it is the answer to our manifold problems. We have been born for this time. It is up to us. But we're not sent out alone or without help. The universe is on our side, and God himself indwells us. There are many individuals and groups and unseen friends serving in many ways to fulfill this spiritual mission to Urantia, including this 24-hour gathering, and so grateful to those that are hosting it. We looked at one question: how do we bring Jesus's teachings and the Father's love to every person we may encounter in the day, or at least each opportunity as it presents itself? We looked at some factors to beginning a conversation. That conversations are spontaneous. We may know where we hope it will go, but we will always respect the interest and willingness of our conversational partners. We viewed questions and the functions they serve: to encourage an interaction, to learn about our conversational partners, to clarify beliefs and expand concepts, and to open the mind to new possibilities. We mentioned having a toolbox of conversational starters. Questions can be helpful, but this should never deter from what your partner needs. Opportunities abound, sometimes where or when we least expect it, even in times when it's not seemingly convenient. I'd like to share a story. Some years ago, I was dashing through a train station to catch a train. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a young woman sitting on the floor, tucked out of the way, sobbing. It was about 10 steps later when my mind processed what I had really seen: a sister in great need. I walked back to her thinking, the train is leaving in less than 10 minutes. And the next thought was, there will always be another train. Squatting down to be close to this sister, I said something like, "May I help you?" She sobbed, barely looked at me, and sadly said, "No." I sat on the floor with her, didn't touch her or talk to her, just prayed and loved her as she sobbed. And time stood still. There was nothing else that mattered in that moment. Have you ever had that happen to you? Finally, she looked at me and said something like, "I'm better now." So I quietly left. And I got to the train, got through the doors, got onto the train, the doors closed behind me, and the train began to move. Love is still the most powerful and the strongest tool we have. It is the love of Jesus that Jesus gives to us and that we can share with others. Okay. One more quote. The revelation I have made to you is a living revelation, and I desire that it shall bear appropriate fruits in each individual and in each generation in accordance with the laws of spiritual growth, increase, and adaptive development. From generation to generation, this gospel must show increasing vitality and exhibit greater depth of spiritual power. It must not be permitted to become merely a sacred memory, a mere tradition about me and the times in which we live now. So our mission is clear. And we're all individuals. We have individual ways of bringing this action into the world. And one of them is always going to be those one-to-one moments with me, with a new friend, a new brother or sister that we have just met. I'd like to open this up to conversation now, or any questions that you may have. Or if you have favorite questions and would like to share them. Trevor, are you going to be seeing whose hands are up?
Yes, I'll keep an eye on everyone there for you.
Make the screen larger here so I can help you too.
Okay. Kathleen has her hand up.
Ah, Kathleen. Are you muted?
She is muted. Kathleen, just unmute yourself. No,
I
not,
don't
not
have
my
my-
wife.
No, I don't have my
Not
hand up.
you. No, not you. Not you. There's another Kathleen.
Oh,
She has
okay.
the. Okay, she's still muted. Yeah, I don't think she's going to unmute
I
herself.
think-
So
I think her name is iPhone Helen. Isn't that what the one?
yeah,
got a hand up.
iPhone Helen, if you've got your iPhone Helen, if you have your hand
Do
up.
you mean me, Helene?
Yes,
Okay,
Helene.
Kathleen.
Hi, I'm Helene. I want to thank you first of all, I want to thank Antoinette for sending me the link to do this. This is my first time doing anything like this.
Good.
I've been reading Urantia books since the 80s. I was in a group in Massachusetts, which no longer meets, and I read on my own in Rhode Island. I'm trying to find a group, but these online things make me feel very connected. I felt isolated, if you will excuse the pun. I also want to say that I have experienced that when I have seen my sisters and brothers in need, there's something in me that compels me to go to them and I offer assistance, but I especially liked what you said about just sitting with them. I always talk, and I never thought to just sit with them, not talk, and just pray and just be with them. So I'm going to take that to heart and use that. And I just want to thank you because I also liked what you said about being in line. You know how sometimes we get so impatient and we tap our foot maybe or sigh, those little external symbols of humans, relate to other people to let them know I'm annoyed with you. I've been working on that, but I really liked the way you expressed it as saying it's an opportunity. And, in a way, it's like a inline mission. Or ministry. You can minister to people in a way if they're open to it. So I'm going to take that one to heart. And I'm the kind of person that has always talked to strangers. I reach out to people, and I've been with other people when I've done it, and they think I am the weirdest. I can't tell you how weird and odd they think I am, but you just made me feel like I am a whole person that there's nothing weird or odd about me, and that I am practicing the love that I believe that we need to show to each other. So thank you for that too.
Thank you, Helena, so much. I do see there's a question here that says, Jerry, do you get to recommend the Urantia book in most conversations about God? I'm going to say no. It depends on how long I've known the person or how long the conversation would be. If they ask me a question about where do you get these ideas, I happily share the book. But a lot of times my goal is getting the person to know God as their Father. And that's for me the first goal. Now, you know, we're talking about various levels of conversations too. Some are in passing, like in line. Some are with friends that you've known over a while. I used to walk with a lady and I'd drop little things. And about the third Sunday we walked together, she said, "Where are you getting these ideas from? I want to know." And so, okay, I'll share it. Okay.
There's one more hand raised up.
Okay.
Jerry, they don't have a name. They're just called iPhone.
Yeah, I saw that too. So will iPhone identify themselves?
My name is Patricia Purdue. I go by Patty Purdue. Can you hear
Hi,
me?
Patty. Yeah, I don't see you right now, but I'm sure I'll just, oh, I see iPhone. Okay.
Well, how do I get my name on there and my photograph?
I see your name. Okay, what, did you want to share something or do you have questions that you use?
Oh, would you put up the slide again?
Put up the slide again, which one?
The last one you had up.
Okay.
Something Jesus said.
Yes. Is that on up there?
Yes.
Okay, it's the
I'm a
very
slower reader.
okay. About the revelation I have made to you as a living revelation. Is that the one you wanted
That's
to
it.
see?
Thank you.
Okay, so that's paper 178, section 1, paragraph 15, if you want to find it again. Okay. Any other questions, or anybody want to share the questions that they may have when they meet someone? Ways they drop ideas and hints and nuggets of truth. Well, then I think we are getting to a time here. Oh, yeah, Gary. Is that your hand up? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Hi, guys. Yeah, this is really good. I've really enjoyed this because it's helped me reframe a lot of stuff again. It's always nice to hear different perspectives on how to communicate with people when you're trying to, usher in an idea of faith, particularly when a lot of people you meet don't have that. And the thing that came to mind when you were speaking was, and this is a question I've worked through myself, is who are we trying to serve when we do this? Are we trying to serve God? Are we trying to serve ourselves in projecting what we believe in God, or are we trying to serve the people that we meet? And that's a really nuanced and interesting thing for me, because you can probably be much more serviceable to the person that you meet if you first give them the opportunity to get to know you and to get and to feel that they're understood, which has already been said as well. Then you can if you try to quickly shortcut to talking about faith. I found in the last decade, I've become much more adept at getting people to be more interested in the Urantia book, simply by just having an attitude where I'm open to them and interested in people. And if they ever ask me about why I am the way I am, I then explain exactly why. but I wait for that opportunity. And it involves a huge amount of wisdom, patience, and faith to do that. But I find it really beneficial. And what you were saying, the composite of what you were saying, was reminding me of that methodology, that how you have to take a lot of time. That and sometimes the task of getting someone who wasn't originally very interested in it wasn't I was targeting anyone. It's just that you notice that they become interested. That process can be easily 50 to 100 meetings with them before anything happens. And I think that that's part of the patience, part of the wisdom is, and I having done the other way around, whereas one of my friends would say, strike them around the head with the Urantia book and see what happens. Like, that doesn't work. It categorically doesn't work. I haven't ever hit anyone with the Urantia book. I'm talking figuratively. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think you're right. It all depends on how much time you have someone. If this is in passing and you've got 5 minutes with this person while you're standing in a line, what's the highest, most loving thought you can share with this person? Or if it's a friendship and you can build something up over time, that's entirely different. John Hales, I see your hands up.
Well, I just wanted to tell you, Geri, I was able to stay awake to hear my good friend with her presentation. Well, I've taken a different tact. I've never been very effective on the short standing in line, but I do know I made a conscious decision 5 years ago to work for the angels of the churches, and I became active in my church. But I knew that if I was going to be effective, I had to get to know the people, and the people had to know me. I started off by baking cookies for my men's coffee group, which expanded to sharing my baking with all the personnel in the church, all the employees, including the ministers. And I'll tell you, that's a very effective way to get people to like you when you bring them snacks. So I became known as the old guy that bakes cookies. I even went to Israel with a church group because I said, well, I better get the ministers, I better get to know them, and they should get to know me. So I throw this out to you. It's not, in other words, if you want to be effective, pick a program, and then those of you who've been reading the book for a long time, you have your own voice. You don't need the Urantia book to show to somebody. You have your own voice. So I'm in Bible reading class. I'm in, all the different kinds of those activities. So when something comes up and Luke says this, well, I say, well, let me share what I've learned over my life. And I always start that way. This is what I've learned. I don't mention the Urantia book. I don't feel like I have to but I know the story. I know the story. So that's one way you can become effective with. Now, theoretically, these are believers. Well, then why do I need to be involved with them? Well, I think the primary reason I do this project, because now I'm at the point that they know I read this book called the Urantia book. I send them snippets in emails that I take, copy and paste, all from part 4. I use the Truth Book edition because it has religious pictures, and my church family knows religious pictures. So it's it's a little synergy there it becomes more effective. And if nothing else, if I can just, when I leave this earth, they know that there's this book of knowledge that this guy John Hales gave us these wonderful sayings from, that the idea of the name of this book will be part of their being, because the time's going to come when there's going to be some pushback, I think. So you want to have friends, and you want to have them know about the Urantia teachings from a person that they've gotten to know, and it's not kooky, it's not strange. Anyway, that's my piece.
Thank you, John. It's a good piece. Appreciate it. I see Rob's hand is up, but Trevor, how are we on time?
We've got another 5 minutes to go, so we can do another question or so.
Okay. Rob, did you have your hand up?
Hi,
Yeah.
Jerry, I really comment about being ministry ready as you walk through the world. Tell us the story about you and Guy and the banana ministry and food led. I love that one.
Okay, Guy Perron was visiting Hawaii in January before COVID took over. And he absolutely took me out of my comfort zone. We're in the grocery store and a gentleman starts talking to Guy like he knew him, obviously mistaken identity, but starts talking to him. And Guy finally says something about, you know, I think you're confusing me with someone else, but I'm enjoying the conversation. And we're standing in front of the bananas. And the guy says something of, I don't even remember how we got on it, but the guy says he's a minister and his daughter's with him. And she says she's a minister. And Guy grabs me and says, we're ministers. And so then Guy says, would you like to pray together? And there, right above the banana section, we're holding hands and praying. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, I don't ever do this. And my second thought, I love these second thoughts, was if I were looking at somebody over bananas praying, I would think, I'd like to get to know those people. So there we prayed with them. We said goodbye. We went outside, you know, bought our groceries. We're in the parking lot. And there's this Hawaiian guy in the car next to where we're parked. And he's looking at us and smiling. And he's been in Hawaii less than 24 hours. And he says to him, hi, how are you? And the guy says, fine. And he walks over and says, are you a real Hawaiian? And the guy kind of looks at him a little strange and says, yeah, I am. And he says, I'm from Canada and I just got here last night and you're the first Hawaiian I've seen. And the guy warmed to him right away. And they started talking. And then he says, would you like to pray together? And the guy goes, sure. Now, I would never do that, but that was really an exciting experience. So not bad to be out of your comfort zone once in a while. Okay.
Can I say something? I haven't got a digital hand, just a real one.
Yep, Kathleen, I see your real hand.
The key for me, I mean, just listening to you all and listening to this whole thing, is the key really is to be socially fragrant. Socially, so involved socially, right? Be sociable, get involved in things that require being with other people, whether it be family, friends, work, or a volunteer group or a church, or, you know, anything that requires being with your fellow man, and just be socially fragrant, you know, be friendly and get to know them. And I think things come spontaneously. You know, what you were just talking about then, about this incredible spontaneous thing that you'd never do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing when you're just being natural and being yourself, and you're being socially active and involved in things, that these things just happen without you even thinking about it. That's all.
Spontaneity is the best. Yes, Trevor, is our time up, huh?
No, it's getting there. Look, when I first discovered the Urantia book, I managed to lose all my friends in about 3 weeks. And from then on, I sort of put the Urantia book away when people came around to visit. So for me, it took a bit of time. You know, it took me time to assimilate the teachings and just mature a little bit with it. And I think John made a very good point that, you know, we study the book personally. We try to incorporate the teachings in our own life in our own natural way. And then, you know, over time, we just attempt to live that. And, you know, everyone does that in their own unique way. And it's sharing yourself with others. And over the years, I've realized there's always somebody who knows something that I may not know. So it's very important to listen to people. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Jetta, your hand's up. Did you want to say something?
Just briefly, beautiful presentation. I just remember one thing, this is really off the grid, but my daughter had bought a massage for me for Mother's Day last year. Crazy, crazy. And the massager, we were just, I don't know if you've ever had a massage, but talk. And we would talk, I don't know how we got on the subject of religion, but I wind up giving them all the information about Urantia, and that was the first contact because they were very interested. I wrote down the website and the book, and it was wonderful, to have someone interested in it right away without having to, go through stages with it. But another thing I do, like even my best friends, like my girlfriend, she retired from a school, teach you as a principal. I said, your retirement present, I sent her the Urantia book. And I said, now you have time to read it. So just little things like, she may not read it, but her son may read it. You know what I'm saying?
Or someone will find it on her coffee table. I know our time is up. I want to thank you all for your participation and your listening and your ideas and your questions and thoughts. And thank you so much. And I think Robert is next, is it?
Yes, he is coming up next. And thank you, Geri. That was wonderful. And I'm sure we could have just kept this discussion going for, for a long, long time. I just want to say thank you very much, Geri, for putting that together for us.
And thank all of you for our host and who have orchestrated this event.